Good evening, everyone. This is Voices from Water Citizen. I'm Karalu, host for today. Today I'm with Jafar.
Yes.
And would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, Jafar. I've been in China now, Shanghai specifically, for more than 5 years. I'm pushing 6 years now. Time has flown. I came out here to study, finished an MBA program, and 6 years later, I'm still here.
Where are you originally from?
New York.
New York,
Right.
I see. So, what did make you stay in Shanghai for 5 years?
I don't even know what made me, how I got here, So why I'm staying here, I think it changes every year, right? Sometimes because of the passion, I love what I do. I have the opportunity to be in sports and basketball, being around kids, being around, people who have a passion like me. So that keeps me here. But also I think this country as a totality, and Shanghai itself is just very unique. And I think it has a good positive vibe. And so it's hard to run away from when you're quite happy, Yeah.
I see. And is there any challenge when you start living in Shanghai? Because, Chinese culture is totally different, I guess.
Yeah. I think a lot, when people go to different countries, the thing they always talk about is the culture shock and adjusting to the new culture. That part to me wasn't really a problem in terms of the people or the culture itself. I think it was just more about navigating through the city, being lost all the time. WeChat was kind of a thing back then. WeChat payment wasn't a thing when I first came out here. So technology has helped with translation, and just it simplified me being out here. But when I came out here, it was chaos for quite a while. I mean, I didn't know what to eat, how to eat, where to go.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And now you're pretty much get used to it, I guess.
Oh yeah, I feel like I've gone from crawling to walking. Now I'm starting to run. Even I'm not sprinting yet. I think that's like 10 years. But I'm getting there.
Not far away.
Yeah.
And during this pandemic, where were you and what you've been experienced?
Yeah. So when it first kicked off, I was in Sri Lanka.
Where?
Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka?
Yeah. So right on the southern tip of India.
Okay.
Beautiful destination. I recommend you go.
Say the name again?
Sri Lanka.
Oh, Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka.
I see.
Yeah.
Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka.
Sri Lanka.
Okay,
yeah.
like this, yeah. So I was there early January, and by this time in Wuhan area, you started to hear some noise about it. By the time I left, which was towards the end of January, that's when it started to pop. Went to the U.S. So I was in the U.S., recognized that the virus was spreading, and so I didn't rush back to go to China. So I took a month off. I went to Europe. I traveled through multiple countries. Also did Turkey, and then landed here around the beginning of March. So I kind of beat it, if you want to say that. Yeah. I wasn't quarantined at all, so I kind of lucked out. Yeah.
And how you feel? Like during all this pandemic, did you feel depressed, or you feel totally fine, or?
Again, I'm blessed. I'm blessed because I think at this point financially I was quite okay, so I wasn't stressing about money, which a lot of people, with going on, that was in the back of their head. How am I going to pay for food, my family? I was okay. So from that perspective, I was fine. And then in terms of like the stress itself, for me it was a vacation. Like I said, I was traveling. I was able to meet people that I met around the world and reconnect with them. I was staying with them, having drinks with them, just catching up. So I had a beautiful experience. Again, I am blessed. I hear opposite stories.
And but do you see the world will go to different direction after the pandemic somehow?
Well, I think it already is.
It already is.
I think it already is. I think you have certain people, including myself, who have slowed down life. And if you want to talk about more positivity, have taken the time to assess what's valuable to them, right? If being with the family is important, if this job even makes sense to them, right? What they want to do for the next 5 years, 10 years, next year. So I think because of that, from a mentality standpoint, people will shift their mindset in thinking more about what works for them. Okay, in terms of money, absolutely, people are more conscious now that maybe I can't go to Bali every month and splurge, you know. So I think it's a shift. I think also from like a country standpoint, from security to protecting your own people, I think the people who we trust to help us out in these kind of pandemics are going to have to step it up. And I think they've done a great job for the better part, but I think also things will get a little stricter.
Yeah. What do you mean strict?
Stricter. So a little tighter, for example, when these viruses happen, like people react quicker. You know, we have technologies to be able to support it. You know, certain countries like China did a great job in implementing technology to fight this stuff. I think other countries will begin to use very similar techniques and tactics.
Yeah. I feel like you have all this positive energy. I
sure.
really like it.
Oh, sure.
I really like it. Like, you know, earlier why I started doing this project is because I'm hugely worried. Since I hear a lot of voices about hatred towards different nations, towards different race. And I just worried, is that gonna be another war or what? So that's why I think it's important to let you know, voices of ordinary people who still believe in world citizen to speak out. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yes. So, what do you think about that perspective? Like, did you also hear those different voices, or hatred voices, or voices divided people?
When you have a lot of time to sit down, reflect, or be quarantined for a month or two, you start to analyze and assess, okay, maybe I actually don't like these kind of people. Okay? Maybe I don't like the government itself. Maybe I don't like my president. I'm not talking about China, but, you know, speaking, you know, abroad. And I think things start to bug people as well, right? So maybe that one person you didn't like, now you're in quarantine, you got this tension, and you meet that person, you have a face-to-face with that person. That's when you start to come out and maybe say racist things, maybe you're just being discriminative towards people. I don't know necessarily, you know, the impact long-term of what this virus has, but if you look what's going on in the U.S. right now, I think you actually see unity.
Unity?
Yes. So, and I'm going to speak for a lot of Asians, not Chinese. The unfortunate side of the virus is a lot of Asians, when they were traveling during the virus, they were being discriminated against, right? Just because of the Asian face. Didn't matter if you're Chinese, Japanese, Korean, it was all the same. So as someone like me who recognizes the difference and like, whoa, that's not how you treat people, that's the hatred side, okay? That's called anger, right? I think what we're seeing, for example, in my country is anger as well, but because of that anger, you've seen this protest, you've seen what's going on a global scale. People are looking for more unity as well. They're saying, hey, this has been happening for so long. People discriminating against Chinese, people discriminating against, you know, African Americans, blah, blah, blah. You know, so I think people also want to be genuine and come out, but you got to pick your battle. I mean, there's no right answer for that one.
Yeah, I was actually really touched by those people who want to stand up for that.
Sure.
And in China it will never happen. It's maybe because of the cultural differences, also about different political systems.
Right.
But somehow I also hugely worried, you know, because the pandemic was still there. The virus is still spreading.
Oh, it is.
And everyone was on the street.
It is.
And what's this going to lead to anyway? And
it's a lot to process.
Yeah, it's a lot of process.
It's a lot to process because within the good, when you mention, like, wait a minute, people aren't wearing the mask, everyone's together, everyone's hugging, everyone's screaming and yelling, you know, and then you say, wait a minute, there's a virus there, what are they doing? So there's always some downside when you're doing stuff like protesting. You know, there's never a win-win. If it was that easy, then everyone would do it, right? So there's always going to be some downside to it.
And you actually also reminds me, like, how you see things is totally depends on you yourself.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yes.
Because you said, you just mentioned that you see united.
Oh yeah.
actually I was seeing the conflicts, you know.
Okay.
We have different perspectives, but I really admire your perspective because you see, people actually stand out and united together and try to fight for, you know, those, you know, injustice towards racism.
Right.
Yeah, I think it's a really good point of view, though.
Yeah, I mean, people are products of their environments, right? I tell people this all the time. I grew up in so many different environments, from poor areas to rich areas. I went to schools where I was the only black kid, one of the only black kids in schools. I went to schools where it was mainly Latinos and Asians and a mixed crowd. I've traveled, you know, I've lived in New York, went to high school in Los Angeles, you know, now I'm in China. So I've seen so many different dynamics and demographics, right? And because of that, I realized at the end of the day, people are people. People are people. We're all beautiful at the end of the day, right? And so once you recognize that, you say, hey, like, why shouldn't there be unity? So I only strive to look for that. You know, okay, there's negativity out there, but bye-bye.
Yeah.
Like, I don't need that.
Yeah, like you said, you always attract those. If you are positive enough, you attract a positive
Absolutely.
energy.
And that's all it takes. That's all it takes to build. And then you make change, right? Then you make change with that.
And so, what do you think about world citizen? How you do you believe in world citizen?
I'm sure there's several definitions of world citizen. I'm going to take a stance and say that absolutely has nothing to do with where you physically live or where you have gone and traveled to. Take, for example, you have so many people who maybe traveled the world. I went to 20 different countries last year and they took pictures, post on their Instagram, but that doesn't necessarily mean you are a world citizen. Okay, for me, it's all mentality. Right, Carrie? It's all mentality. You know, if you go into a certain country, for example, I'm speaking to you, Kala. Okay, my obligation, if I want to be a world citizen, is to know who you are. Okay, understand your culture. Take time to digest and say, why does she think like this? Why does she see the protesting, or why does she see the negative side rather than the positive side? Excuse my language. Rather than the positive side and what's going on there, right? So as a citizen of the world, so long as you take time to go to these countries, meet these people, vibe with these nationalities, and try to genuinely understand who they are, you can be a citizen of the world. A world citizen. You have to understand them. And I'll kind of comment a little deeper about that. You can grow up your entire life living in Shanghai, never traveling the world, and be a world citizen just by your character of saying, hey, Kara, who are you? I want to know who you are. And I think that's really all it takes, right? A lot of people don't do that. And we generalize, we make assumptions, we say, all Asians are like this, all Westerners are like this, all Indians are like this, and it's not how you live. You know?
Wow, that's really well said.
Yeah, I don't know.
And thank you very much for taking this interview.